Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch the scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it. So explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it. No scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool. Hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones. Bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show, once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. I'm really happy to be back, alive and well on this Wednesday, November 1st, 2017. Thank you all for sticking around. Took the month off, most of the month off anyway. Did some traveling around, visiting family and friends out in mostly the state of Texas. The last show I did was actually out of Birmingham, Alabama, with my longtime partner on the Anti-Media and sometimes radio show host S.M. Gibson. That was a pretty interesting little show, and you know we had some stuff to talk about, and of course there's relentless news. You know, I was kind of waiting on call to do any shows if anything really big popped up. I was going to do Monday, but Monday's when I actually flew back in. I was just getting home and getting, situated and doing some running around, so I really didn't have enough time to do it. But now I can't even remember exactly what happened on Monday. But Paul Manafort getting indicted, conspiracy against the United States and several other things, collusion with Russia. So, that stuff's going on, and a lot of stuff with the election, and maybe even a bigger story right now is all this sexual assault accusations coming out of Hollywood, and not only Hollywood, but also just generally in the entertainment industry and in the news industry, the business world. I mean, you name it. I mean, we talked about this on the show, the last show I did, but, sexual abuse, sexual assault, this is a rampant issue. People either are ignorant about it or want to pretend it's not an issue, or many people participate in this stuff themselves. It's so much more rampant than anybody wants to admit, and then the people who harp on it every day, people think they're exaggerating, but they're probably actually not even telling enough of the story. It's a huge issue, and of course, the entertainment industry is built on like sexualization, right? You want the good-looking men and women to be actors, and there's some of this so bad I don't even want to talk about, but the whole industry is built on sexualization, right? And so it's not exactly surprising to find out later on that people, the people in power in these industries weaponize sexuality against the workers, which are like the actors and stuff. People don't really think of actors as the working class people of Hollywood, but they actually are. Even though they're rich, they are the workers, And so it's.
I wouldn't say that though, Nick. Remember, there's like 1 million people behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, the actors are like the upper level workers, but there's a bunch of other people that do a bunch of the other work. All the way down to like the janitors and stuff. But anyway, it's a huge thing, and it's sad to see all this stuff has been happening for so long. But it's good to see that a lot of these predators are finally getting outed by their prey, and of course the Corey Feldman thing, which I don't know what to make of that, but I wrote an article about it, and hopefully he is able to name some of the people who abused him, and hopefully some of these people can finally see some justice. I'm sure they've been dealing with this stuff for years and years, decades, if not longer. Some of these actors and actresses that have been serially abused by these fucking sick bastards. I don't know what to call them. It's so messed up. Anyway,
Nick, one
we got plenty to talk about, right? So let me just introduce you guys because it's been a month. Maybe people forgot who DB Schwartz is. My longtime co-host, DB Schwartz. Welcome to the program. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Nick? No, I've been keeping busy, and I did a special show with L Deeds in between, and trying to set something up special with her again because she's making contacts, and not to try to get off the subject of the whole Hollywood thing, but it's endemic, man. It's from top to bottom. If these people are involved in anything from Nickelodeon and Disney up to Miramax, it doesn't matter. And that's the worst part, is the people that are involved in the Nickelodeon and Disney side of that and are preying on children as opposed to preying on younger actresses who are at least of age. I think we can make the distinction that these are a lot sicker bastards than any of the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, and that's the next layer. I mean, they're trying to prepare the American public, who can barely function, that everything they know is a lie and all their heroes are basically sickos.
Yeah, it's a weird reality, and it's so, I don't want to say coincidental. That all this stuff is coming to a head at the same time as when the empire is really showing its cracks, and for the first time our election is people are saying our election is illegitimate, and the empire is losing its strength, and the U.S. influence is no longer what it once was.
Nick, what do you think about Trump representing a soft set versus Hillary, who would have represented the collapse of the empire because she would have went to war with Russia?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. At this point, I don't have any. I can't really speculate on that. But what I do know is what's going on right now is just, it's unprecedented. It's unpresidential as well, but no, it's unprecedented to see all the different kind of cracks that are forming right now. And just today, I saw an article. Let me pull it up here. It was a survey out of, what was it? I saw it on the Hill. While I'm looking that up, we're also joined tonight by our awesome journalist on the Anti-Media, Jake Anderson. What's up, Jake? How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we're hearing you, dude. It's been too long, man. Welcome back to the show. What have you been up to?
Oh, just doing some research for the documentary and finding some really. I was down in LA for like a week, which was it's always kind of hellish for me going down there. But we're really finding some cracks in the case that we're researching, and unsurprisingly, it really is starting to look like there was some kind of cover up with the LAPD, and it's kind of I wasn't really expecting to for the case to become so real, I guess. I don't know what I was expecting, but we're finding some really messed up stuff. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me all this stuff's kind of happening. The fault lines have been shown, and with the Harvey Weinstein thing, it's emblematic of the whole larger cracks that are going on, because these accusations have been out there for decades on Harvey Weinstein, but it's only when his power weakened and they hadn't had a hit in a while, and the Weinstein Company and his influence had considerably waned, and it was only then that people that all these prey that he had been traumatizing for decades, all of a sudden they closed ranks in around him. And that's kind of what's happening with the U.S. at large and with our empire at large, which is as we're starting to fail internally, the people that we've been kind of picking on for so long are now starting to circle around us. And it's just happening all at once. And yeah, I think DB's right to a certain extent about people are going to have to accept that all their heroes are sickos, but also to a even larger degree, people are going to have to accept that all these preconceived notions we had about our superiority, about our exceptionalism, were all just completely made up bullshit propaganda, and we've just been blindly feeding into this sick empire for our entire lives, and people are going to have to really maneuver out of it, or we're going to be in for some real reckoning soon.
What I find pretty interesting is, of course, all the Hollywood stuff going on, and like you said, Hollywood has not been having the best luck lately. In fact, the box office numbers are pretty low. Recently, they've been going down, and so they've been trying to figure out, okay, how do we deal with these? And now you have this Weinstein thing happening, but now it's like producer after producer and actor and actress, or all these. The truth is finally coming, loose, because there's like that, that critical mass where if one person comes out and then everyone attacks them, well, then people are scared to come out. But if one person comes out and then another, and then there's dozens and there's hundreds of women accusing Harvey Weinstein, all of a sudden it becomes acceptable. And you saw that campaign. I mentioned it. I talked about it a bit on one of the recent radio shows, the Me Too hashtag, right? That thing was so powerful because it really gave people the collective courage to come out and say something about stuff that's happened to them. That's the hardest part after something like that happens, is coming out and being able to say it, because people are embarrassed. I mean, the way people treat it like they blame the victim, and it's something really sensitive to have to talk about publicly, especially. The collective courage is finally coming out, and now all this truth is being laid bare. And so that's something very, very powerful. But what I find interesting, of course, the Hollywood and entertainment industry is part of the big kind of, bread and circus that the empire uses to keep everybody at bay, spread propaganda, keep people distracted. That pillar seems to be on shaky ground right now, very shaky ground, in fact. And another pillar, which is football, of course, is also dealing with its own crisis when it comes to the Kaepernick, the kneeling thing, the whole discussion about the national anthem. So what we're dealing with right now is a twofold assault on the fundamental pillars of U.S. propaganda. And so, I mean, I can't really stress how important or how big these things are. I mean, I don't think Kaepernick, maybe he did. I mean, maybe he did think that this was going to be a huge, huge thing that he did. Or maybe he thought it was just going to be like, a one-time thing, or just until the season was over or whatever. But this is spread into something that, and people may disagree with me on this, but I honestly think Kaepernick's decision to kneel down for the national anthem has actually been one of the most effective activist movements in recent memory for me.
Definitely.
I mean, it has caused such a discussion and so much talk and so many things that have now echoed throughout society. I saw a picture the other day where it's like elementary kids in class doing the Pledge of Allegiance, kneeling down and, doing their thing. So, I mean, it sounds silly to say this, but an NFL player may have started the most effective activist movement in a long time.
Well, Nick, I listen to a lot of sports radio. I'm not into sports as much as I used to be, but I still listen to a lot of sports radio. And especially when I'm in LA, I listen to local sports people. And this is like a crisis even in the peripheral echo chambers of sports entertainment now. A lot of people of color who are sports announcers and color analysts, they can't separate sports from politics anymore. Like it's so inundated now, and in previous times they've been able to compartmentalize racial issues in sports, and people are much more comfortable leaving one zone in the other. But recently what Kaepernick has did is that he's made race and the generation of profit in America, he's made them so intertwined, which they are intertwined, but he's shown how intertwined they are, that I don't see how I don't really see how the NFL will ever recover from this. The division lines are so deep right now on this, and people that would normally be able to separate the issues simply can't. They just can't. They can't do it. Listening to some of these people talk about this issue it's just awkward, because they have opinions. They clearly want to say what they think about it, but they're scared of losing their job. They're scared of alienating listeners because the issue is so divisive. People are really, there's no black or white on this. People are really burrowing in on their respective sides. So it's a huge issue. And yeah, you're right. The NFL and Hollywood, and then in the geopolitical sphere, this is unprecedented times right now. And
so to add on to all this stuff, right? You got the entertainment industry shaken by a huge crisis, and it's already been in the middle of an economic crisis. And now you have the sporting, basically the sporting arm of the government, which is like NFL and Major League Baseball.
The entertainment arm of the military complex.
The sports entertainment pillar of it. That is now shaken. And then the other, like you said, Jake, we can't forget the third entertainment, the third pillar of the entertainment arm, the empire, are basically the politicians. Of course, they serve multiple functions. But in many ways, these politicians are like celebrities, and they go out and they entertain people. Trump, let's face it, Trump is a professional entertainer. That's what he did before he got elected. I think that's what he's still doing. Trump has kind of lifted the veneer off of the empire too. I mean, for us, you and me, people listening to this show for a long time, we already knew the government was ugly. We knew that the empire was brutal. We knew that horrible things were going on with U.S. tax dollars. We knew the cops were being terrible to people. So with Trump coming around and kind of lifting the veil on just how brutal the government truly is, and how inept and how just greedy it is, it doesn't come as that much of a surprise, because people who've been paying close attention, we already knew all this stuff was going on. But I think because Trump is so vulgar and so unfiltered, he really is, for people who normally wouldn't question the government's intentions and its results and stuff like that, are seeing this and they're like, wow, like they're like really shaken by this. In fact, the article I was going to pull up was about how a majority of people in the U.S. think that the country is at its lowest state that it's been in their memory. So, all
yeah,
this,
but who wrote that article?
I don't know. It was on the Hill.
Yeah, a bunch of bullshit. Because basically, where I'm basically living is jobs are actually coming back for regular people. So I don't know, man. I'm starting to see things differently just from living out here. I know you guys are on the coast, but I'm just telling you, it's a different country here, and it's doing better now. And there's more people with more money now. So I don't know.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that the economic situation has improved. It's been improving, and it improved more since Trump got into office. But, however, what people are saying is that the country is basically in a really bad spot.
But how, though?
To do with Trump. Trump's policies have done nothing positive for the economy. This was a turnaround that was already in progress even before he got into office. Name one positive economic thing Trump has done for the economy.
I don't really know of any specific policy, but I would say what may have play a factor is that businesses just, with the Republican in office, they're like, okay, well, we can make riskier decisions. And
I don't think he's gotten a policy through, Jake. I mean, it's kind of hard to bash on a guy when everybody blocks everything all the time. It's the same thing that the problem Obama had.
Yeah, that's
the same problem Obama had. So
the economy is really just this illusion. It's whether businesses feel that they can borrow from banks who feel like they can continue to make money off of giving these loans. This is all just a house of cards, and none of it means fucking anything. But you can't with good conscience say that Trump has turned our economy around.
No president is anything but an executive of the corporation that runs our government. That's all it is. Smedley Butler proved that way back. So if anybody thinks presidents do anything except basically sign off on legislation that's pre-planned that controls your life, you're living in a delusion world.
Thank you. I just wanted to.
What I want to just state though is that this culture change going on in America is not a representation of Trump. Trump is a representation of the mask being pulled off. The people that have always been in charge are telling you, fuck you, right now. That's what they're telling you, the stupid American people. Fuck you. We're going to do whatever we want. We're not going to play nice anymore. We're not going to trick you. We're not going to pretend. We're just going to take control, and you're going to bend over.
Oh, man. Was that your reenactment?
Look at all the legislation, dude. Look at what they're doing. They're telling you if you need the government, piss off and die. They've got everything, and they've pushed it all into the military. And if you think you're going to revolt against the military, you're a moron. You're going to get into guerrilla warfare for 5 years, and your whole family will be killed. So I don't know what people think is going to happen on November 4th. It's a big fat nothing.
Yeah. That November 4th thing is a huge hoax, right? That is just being, it's so crazy what's going on right now with the alt-right echo chamber. It's like a self-reinforcing.
But it's the alt-left echo chamber. Ooh, we're gonna do something scary. We're gonna mobilize. It's like, dude.
It's both, but that's the thing. Here's the thing: is like
nobody's organized.
This whole
military is. That's it.
The whole thing is like it's seriously like a fucking. It's like the alt-right made up its own fake Antifa protest, and so that they could like be against it. Like it's so insane. Like that's what's so interesting too. And that's where I totally agree with what you said about Trump, DB, about how it's not as much of Trump being this just brutal, what would you call it, vulgar type of doofus, right? It's not so much that Trump is imposing that on the United States. I think the more accurate, I mean, that's partially true, right? But the more accurate version of events is that he is truly a great representation of like the state of this country, and the way people are thinking, and just like I was saying, man, like with the alt-right too, and Trump is doing the same thing with trying to ban Muslims and say that we have to restrict immigration. I mean, it's the same thing because they created the problem and now they're offering a solution to it. The same thing is going on a smaller scale right now with the alt-right and the alt-left. And I'm sure you saw it where there was some protest that was supposedly going to be some Nazis, and thousands and thousands of left-wing protesters showed up, and there was 13.
Those guys are so fringe.
But at the same time, it's happening on the other side of the spectrum. The alt-right is saying that there's going to be some revolution on November 4th led by Antifa. And some of these posts have gone so ridiculous that they're going to behead all white people and that they're going to kill business owners. And that
it started as a joke.
It was literally a joke. Someone posted a tweet that was a joke and somebody took it literally. And there's a lot of this is actually spreading from literal fake news websites like yournewswire.com are spreading rumor-based things about they're literally printing all kinds of crazy shit about Antifa, throwing it against the wall and seeing whichever shit will stick, and then that little meme will go viral. It's really, really just it really is a symbol of what's happening on a larger scale, because in a way it's kind of like the whole issue with terrorism is something that the government wound up creating by going around the world starting all these wars, and then as soon as anybody comes back to the U.S. trying to get revenge, it's this is why we need a strong leader like Trump who's going to shut the borders and not let Muslims in and blah, 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 blah. Because people want to come here and hurt us out of revenge because we're destroying their whole country. It's wait, there is definitely something in there that could be fixed. If people don't want to end the empire, well, I mean, what are you going to do? The only real solution, if people want to think like this, and let me just put it out there so that people know how brutal this is. It'd be like going to a country saying, okay, we're going to declare a war on this country, building a fucking wall around that country just to hold people in while you drop bombs inside of it. That's more or less what this is the attitude people are taking, dude. Most of these people, I can't say I know much about Uzbekistan, where this last dude was from. I don't know that much about that country. I know it used to be part of the USSR a long time ago. That I really can't tell you much more about it. But I know that most legitimate, I don't want to say legitimate, but most actual terrorists who actually belong to a terror group who are actually doing an attack for a certain reason. The most recent one I could really think about would be the Orlando shooter, where he shot up the gay nightclub. Most of those guys are going out and trying to get revenge for what they see are wrongs committed by the United States overseas, specifically in the Arab world, in the Middle East. So, I mean, there is a solution here to take care of terrorism, but it's not the solution being offered up. Just like there is a solution to many people's political grievances in this country, whether they're on the far left or on the far right. But many of those people are not presenting legitimate, solutions to their problems. I mean, the alt-right going out and saying we got to deport people, create a white nationalist state, and make an ethno state and all that. That is not only never going to happen, but it's also not a solution. It's not a fix to the underlying problems, because you know what will happen in a white nationalist state? You'll have all white oppressors oppressing all white people. That's the only thing that's going to be different. The color of the skin of people being oppressed, that's it. And a slight change to the organizational structure of it, that's it. Ethno policies are not solutions. They are stupid as hell and are going to cause way more problems than they would fix. So solutions are being presented for problems that just they're not going to work. They're not even workable. They're not even realistic. They're not even feasible. Having a war on terrorism, I was just thinking about this today. It's just you got to be so fucking dumb to even believe that it's something, that it could actually be accomplished. A war on a tactic. Terrorism is a tactic. It's not a person. It's not a group. ISIS is not terrorism. Al-Qaeda is not terrorism. Al Qaeda are terrorists. You can declare war on terrorists, certain terrorists. Like you can say, well, we declare war on this group of terrorists. You can't declare war on terrorism because it's a tactic. It's not
Yeah, good point. And think about the irony of an empire declaring war against a tactic that is itself a response to empire.
Exactly.
It's how you create never-ending, endless war, which is what they want. But that business model, it's met a wall. It's met a wall in China and Russia together in a united front. I would love to bridge into the fact that now, there's proof that there is meddling, but it's so minor on Russia's part that it makes it a joke.
Talk about that.
It's a joke if you really think that that's what made Trump win. Trump didn't win because of Russian meddling. Trump won because the DNC pushed Hillary in our face because of the line of succession, because all presidents are chosen.
Trump won for a bunch of problems.
Yeah, but it was because they pushed HRC in our face, and she was the worst candidate ever.
He is, like you were saying earlier, I think he is a reflection of us at the moment too. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, dude. So I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, I mean, there's not a lot to add to that. It's just what this was a response from society at large. It's like I wanted Bernie on a periphery. I wanted him because I thought that he at least wouldn't start wars. He would be more of a Jimmy Carter, and maybe we could get some relief for healthcare and for college costs and things like that are just killing our society right now. That's all I wanted. And when the DNC convention basically made a mockery of him, basically made fun of him for being Jewish, which really a lot of people don't understand how racist and fucking anti-Semitic the DNC is. And if they really knew, they'd never support him. It just made me realize that our country is just completely lost, dude. When you have a progressive party that just wants life to be better for regular people, crushed by corporatists with a smile instead of just in-your-face assholes like the GOP, that's when you know we're lost, dude. We're lost.
And the way they brilliantly shifted the whole thing against Russia and said, "Oh, look, Russia's the one that really gave you guys Trump. It had nothing to do with us and us."
He wanted to divert 10% of the military budget. That was it. He wanted to take $70 billion and put it to healthcare and college. It would have given all of the people out there listening a chance. Now you have no chance. Now, when the war starts, you're going to fight or you're going to die.
Yeah.
Fucking tumbleweeds just went by.
It's hard to follow that one up.
I mean, that's the reality, dude. We're going to go to war. I hope people understand. We're fighting North Korea or Iran, or we're fighting somebody, or we're fighting ourselves. But if you're not ready to fight, you're fucked.
Well, Russia and China are now, I think I read this on the anti-media, or maybe I read it somewhere else, but they're contemplating now merging their payment systems to try and counteract the dollar.
Yeah, because SWIFT is a fucking scam and a monopoly. And why not establish BRICS? Do you really think that we have the balls to get into a nuclear showdown with Russia and China? Nobody's that insane.
I don't know if it's balls, but Trump definitely is insane enough to think he could do it.
No. If Hillary was in, we'd already be in a nuclear exchange. So at least we have hope, dude.
I disagree with you there because I think that.
Why? Why do you disagree?
I'll explain it. I'll explain it right now because the powerful elites have an invested interest in keeping us sucking at the teat. That's how they make their money. They're not going to make money off of 300 million dead people, dude.
What elites though? There's two branches. There's two thoughts. There's two schools. There's one school that said humans suck, kill them all, and the other one said humans are awesome, they buy all our shit. I'd probably rather have the second group win.
What? I don't understand that dichotomy.
Transhumanists at the edge want to drop or depop all of us, right? Because humans suck.
I think that's a small. I do think there is that transhumanist cabal that's out there, but I don't think they represent the mainstream politics. Mainstream political interests right now are represented by, like you said, these corporatists who need consumers and need dumb consumers, dude.
That's who won. But the guys who ran Tuskegee experiment were in charge and they lost.
What? What does that have to do with it?
I'm telling you, dude, there's two branches. There's one branch of people that want to kill everyone because humans suck and they want robots to do everything. And the others that are like, no, we want people to buy stuff. Those are the two branches of power. And the second branch won.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, I don't think that if Hillary would have been in office that there would necessarily have been a nuclear exchange yet. I know Hillary was... Maybe she was the first final presidential candidate to actually be openly hawkish in my memory. I remember Obama being pretty damn, anti-war. Then again, I guess John McCain was probably hawkish. I can't remember well enough to remember that. But I know George W. Bush ran as a pretty hawkish candidate. Dovish, my bad. I'm like confusing shit now.
In 2000, he did. In 2004, I mean, Bush created the modern terror state as we know it now.
Yeah, but I mean, when you first ran,
right? When he first ran, he was a particularly dovish conservative. Yeah,
found it interesting that Clinton, ran pretty openly hawkish there, at least more hawkish than Trump, and was supposedly a challenger from the left of Trump. So I think there's a chance that Hillary would have been more involved in wars and shit than Trump. But at the same time, Trump went around talking all this shit like he was going to not be nation building and not be bombing people and not be creating refugee crises and shit. But Trump has not done anything to slow down the foreign policy. In fact, he's made Obama's policies worse. He's killed more civilians at a faster rate, and so... Trump is only making shit worse, and because he's so unfiltered, I mean, I can only imagine that. I really can't imagine Kim Jong-un negotiating with Trump. I really can't imagine that because I think a lot of stuff on in the East and even just outside of the United States is built on more respectful dialogue, especially when it comes to diplomacy and political stuff. Trump going around calling this dude a rocket man and all this like just stupid little petty childhood type shit. This is not the kind of way you go about negotiating with North Korea or China or Japan or anybody over there in that region. I really don't think that they take that seriously or give that any respect. And so that's the problem with Trump. Well, I think Clinton would have been more hawkish. It's so much more unpredictable with Donald Trump that it could actually provoke some stupid shit, really stupid shit going on with North Korea. I mean, the situation's already bad enough as it is. But who knows what kind of stupid comment Trump says next that may actually very well trigger Kim Jong-un to do something really stupid. And
he's just a puppet too, dude.
Yeah, and he's a puppet to the general.
He is. He is. He's a puppet because he got all of his material to make his nukes from Iran and from Israel, dude. You can even research that and look it up. So he's a big puppet to them. He's a nobody. He takes orders. So it's all a big game, dude. It's all a big shell game.
It's also a proxy conflict with China. It always has been, really. North Korea. China got involved. China intervened in in the Korean War back in the day on the side of North Korea, pushed the U.S. back to its current borders, and so that China's been kind of if anybody thinks that North Korea isn't about China, then you should rethink that because it definitely is. That being said, I want to visit on this Russian stuff because it is very interesting. Now, the fuss being made that Russia electioneered our election, that now, judging by the evidence I'm seeing with these ads and stuff I'm seeing, that's all bullshit. There wasn't electioneering. Russia did not hack the election. Russia did play a very small role in the U.S. election, but when I look at the evidence presented today from these companies like Facebook and Twitter, I mean, some of these ad campaigns had budgets of like $55. I don't know if you guys have ever experimented with Facebook advertising, but $55 gets you like I don't know. You'd be lucky if that got you like 1,000 clicks.
It was as much as $100,000, Nick.
Yeah, as much as $100,000 combined, right, between all the different little campaigns. And if you look at the campaigns that were run, they weren't like explicitly pro-Trump. In fact, what it looks like was going on, this is what I find interesting, is that Russia was identifying existing social movements, right? So in one case, there was like a dude who was they found like a few like black martial art instructors, and they were trying to offer these guys, I think it was $100 a week to make black only, self-defense classes, right? Where they would get videos and pictures of it, and then they would try to spin it into some kind of propaganda thing. Basically, what I noticed is what they're trying to do is create divides. And this is what the Russians, if you look at most of their ad campaigns, it was stuff that was very contentious, right? Stuff that you can get easily say, you can get white people to say, well, I can't believe black people are having their own self-defense classes. That's racist. You know what I mean? Like you can get people that are ignorant to think like that, right? Even though I think it's a perfectly awesome thing to do, black liberation, self-defense, because it's like, the kind of stuff that the Black Panthers were working on and the kind of stuff that actually works. Defending yourself works. I mean, that's really the best mechanism of getting justice, is being able to directly defend it yourself. But anyway, so what it looks like is that Russia is, and we've known this because if you look at the foreign policy stuff, I mean, look what we did. We sent $500 million to Syria to train a rebel army. And you guys remember how pitiful that was when it finally came out? Do you guys remember that? There was like 55... They got like 55 fighters out of $500 million. Do you guys remember that? And then in their first battle, they got routed by Al Qaeda and left all the equipment behind. Do you guys remember that? I mean, that's like the official story. I mean, who knows what really happened?
Dude, how did they get all those sweet ass Toyotas?
Yeah, exactly. And so if you look at what the United States did in Syria, and then the fact that we tried to manufacture an entire resistance movement, we tried to manufacture a revolution in Syria, which inadvertently or purposely led to the rise of ISIS. And we all know what happened next. But I'll tell you who won. Who won the Syrian war? The U.S. It was Russia. They won. They spent a lot less money doing it. A lot less money. And they did it by being smarter with the resources and backing existing movements. ISIS came out of nowhere, and the Syrian revolution came out of nowhere. There was not really much of a organic network that the United States could come right into and plug right into and say, oh, cool, we found this existing network of resistance fighters in Syria. Let's just plug a few $1 million worth of strategic weaponry into it and just let them do their thing, and they're gonna win this shit easy because it's a actual legitimate movement that's been happening and it's already on the verge of winning, right? That's not what the United States does, and that's why we spend trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on wars that we literally cannot win, like in Afghanistan and all these other places, because we keep going in and trying to manufacture a whole new structure. Like we went to Taliban into Afghanistan. We said, okay, we kicked the Taliban out, and we're gonna make this brand new government for you guys to be awesome and faithful to, and expect it to miraculously convince everybody in that country. Oh yeah, that's great. The United States totally helped us out and created a whole new government for us that actually cares about us. Do you think people in Afghanistan actually think like that? Does anybody think like what the? Nobody's gonna think like that. Nobody is. Sorry. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad China came to the United States, overthrew our entire way of living, and created a whole new Chinese-backed form of government. That's awesome. I mean, they don't like use much anymore, but they have our best interests in mind, so it's cool. No, we're not. Nobody's thinking that shit. Sorry.
I hear this all the time. People go, oh my God, China is so cool.
Yeah, seriously. I actually have...
OMG, China is so cool.
Why don't you freaking live there then?
look. Conversely, Russia goes over to Syria and they say, "Oh, damn, you guys have a government here that has been pretty secular. You've been pretty popular. In fact, at least according to what we can tell, there's been elections and that this guy is democratically supported. Okay, and we have strategic interests. We have strategic interests here. Let's go ahead and back these dudes up because it seems like they know what they're doing. They have something to fight for. They've got a homeland. They've got a coalition. They've got a plan. Russia throws in a few $1,000,000, gives them some support with hardware, jets, bombers, anti-aircraft, pilots, and a bunch of people to train their forces, and let their forces do the fighting. Let the Syrian fighters win back the cities and retake the cities, recolonize the cities. God, that seems like it may actually work. Unlike the United States, who wants to go over there and spend $500 million and only wind up with 55 fighters that all got routed and left all of their weaponry behind when they left. That is the difference. And so what I'm seeing here with this electioneering by Russia, again, it wasn't legislative. It wasn't like an actual attack on the machinery of the election, which was the big rhetorical lie of the mainstream media. Oh, Russia hacked the election. Russia hacked the election. Russia hacked the election. No, they didn't actually hack the election, guys. They didn't hack into the voting equipment of the election. That didn't happen, at least so far that we know of. What did happen is that they took out a small amount of polarizing ads, which basically serve to exacerbate existing issues. And that's the trick. See, this is the trick that Russia has been able to use. I mean, Facebook is saying it spent $100,000 on political ads, Russian-backed campaigns, right? $100,000? Do you guys understand how much money was spent on this last election? It was record numbers. I mean, billions of dollars were spent.
How many ads can you buy with that?
I mean, $100,000 will barely even get you a couple TV ads. You know what I'm saying?
So what did Hillary spend? $2 billion?
Yeah, it was something around $2 billion, I think.
So what did she? How much airtime did she buy on TV? Like, how many countless fucking hours of crap did she put out?
Exactly, and see, that's the difference. See, Hillary was like and this is so funny how this worked out. Hillary was like the U.S. foreign policy candidate, right? It's like, we're going to go in, we're going to build an inorganic movement that has no backers, because the organic movement was obviously behind Bernie, right? If the DNC would have been like, oh shit, if they would have realized what Bernie was at the beginning, and they said, you know what, forget Hillary, she's going to make us lose, we got to get with Bernie right away, or at least give him a fair chance, and then really actually supported him, right now Bernie Sanders would probably be the president of the United States, in my opinion. But instead they said, oh, well, we're going to manufacture a fake movement around Hillary Clinton that doesn't exist, and we're going to trick everybody into believing that they need to vote for Hillary Clinton. Basically, we're going to just base a campaign around how bad Trump is and say, oh, well, Trump is so bad, we can't let him win, so just vote for Hillary even if you don't like her that much. That was like the strategy, and obviously it didn't work. It failed horribly, miserably. Trump, as awful as he was, he did have a organic movement. I think his initial movement was smaller than Bernie Sanders, and then it grew after it was clear that Trump became the nominee. His organic movement got really big because I think people just didn't people refused to believe that he could actually get the nomination. So once he did, they were like, oh, well, fuck it, I'll jump on the Trump bandwagon too. And his movement got big. Clinton never really had much of a movement outside of like paid activists, professional, Democratic Party activists. That was like her real bread and butter, but those aren't the people that win you election. You got to sway the regular, voting class, working class people. And so Russia not having to spend billions of dollars and have spies and actually hack into these election systems. I mean, they spent $100,000 on Facebook. I don't know if what they did was enough to say, oh yeah, that totally is what swung the election over to Trump and made Hillary lose. I really don't think that's the case. But that being said, there's a stark difference there.
My shit talking personally had more effect than that $100,000.
Yeah, exactly. Russia picks very strategic issues to go after, and then they drive a wedge in between them. And actually what they found out is that, there was one protest where Russia organized both sides of it, where it was the protesters and the counter-protesters were sponsored by this, quote-unquote Russian government, Facebook page that nobody knew who ran the thing, but they sponsored both sides of the protest, and I'm sure that they probably had RT show up and film it, and then get basically. Russia has identified divides in the U.S. in American society. Russia has identified the divides, and Russia is purposely putting a wedge in between those divides. Now, here's the very, very ironic, the most ironic part of this all. If you guys recall back shortly after the election, there was all this hype about fake news this, fake news that, and I'm sure you guys remember, we were accused by Prop or Not, which was first featured in the Washington Post, of being some kind of either Russian-funded propaganda or at best, useful idiots, quote unquote, useful idiots, right? Now here's
what a bunch of morons.
Here's the most ironic part. It turns out how many times have we been on this show trying to combat the divide and conquer bullshit going on? How many times have we been on here trying to find common ground with people and trying to really get past all this petty disagreement bullshit and look at the deeper issues, right? That's been our fucking agenda from day one. When we find out that Russia's tactic is to split a wedge between movements and divide and conquer, well, you know who's the real fucking useful idiot? Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Those fools are working as useful idiots for the Russians because they're dividing us.
And this is classic and good agitprop, and it's legal. And if anyone thinks that what Russia did is even a tiny speck compared to what the United States CIA has done in other countries over the last half century, you're sorely mistaken. We are the absolute worst of the worst when it comes to affecting other people's elections through coups, through assassinations, through all kinds of measures that's been going on with our CIA. What Russia did is just it was smart. Look what they did. They are strategically playing us against ourselves. And they're not, like you said earlier on your Facebook post, Nick, they're not manufacturing the narrative. They're taking a narrative that's already there and just pushing at the fault lines. And that's what they did. And the fact that our media is turning this into Russian, interference in our election is just, once again, they're missing the bigger point. They can't see the forest for the trees. They do not understand the critical groundswell going on at the grassroots level in this country of people who want this corporatist nightmare to change and statist nightmare to change. And I think DB is right, man. We're lost. Like we have the inmates are running the asylum right now, man.
Yeah, dude. We're in for a ride. Hopefully you guys are ready for it. I'm not gonna say that there's going to be war in the streets. I know DB thinks that's going to be happening soon.
No,
I'm not
I don't.
that far. I'm not going to go that far with it, but I mean, all of this stuff taken together, and I know we haven't had a show in almost a month, and so of course there's a lot of ground to cover. All of this stuff taken together, dude, it tells me that there's going to be some major shifts happening. And also, not to be forgotten about is the whole Bitcoin phenomenon, which, hopefully you guys listening have been paying attention to our show because we've been talking about Bitcoin for quite a while now. I've known about it for so long. That's the thing that pisses me off because, being in this movement, I've been knowing about this stuff for a long time. I didn't get involved in it until recently. Hopefully everyone listening, at least got a little bit and is doing that thing, because that is also, we talked about the assaults of the pillars of our society. Now the election is another one of them. the image, the American dream too is coming under assault. People, especially millennials, I think most millennials now are like, oh yeah, that's a fucking it really is a dream because it's not attainable anymore for many people. So a lot of the things that we think we know about this country, America being exceptional and we're the number one, we're the best, and we're the freest and all that. A lot of these ideas are coming under scrutiny right now, and it's really bigger. That's the thing, dude. The media is over here still playing this thing up like, oh, Russia totally did all this stuff. No, they just took advantage of the existing shit that was already going on and just gave it a little tiny push. That was like a tiny push it's a drop in the bucket compared to the amount this election cost. $100,000 compared to several billion. I mean, shut the hell up about that. But it was there. It existed. It was a real thing. But it just kind of goes to show they're just tapping into what's already existing, and it's these major, fractures in our society. And the media, of course, not wanting to take any of the blame, is like, oh yeah, they're so bad for trying to divide us. But the media, and coming from the media perspective, I know the divisive shit sells better. It's what people want. I mean, hate it or love it, and I guess maybe we're some of the exceptions, and the people listening to this show are some of the exceptions. That we don't like this divisive shit. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to see our fellow people beating each other up in the street because of differences in ethnic backgrounds or differences in economic backgrounds or political views or whatever. I don't want to be seeing that stuff. But guess what? That's the kind of shit that sells good on CNN. That's the kind of shit that gives MSNBC all the ratings. Terrorist attacks, that's when Fox News makes its money.
Did you just say they had ratings?
Look, Fox News makes more money when they say Muslims are bad. When there's an incident like the attack that happened yesterday in New York, Fox News makes more money because people watch Fox News and they want to see news that says Muslims are bad. Muslims are bad. We should ban Muslims. We need to have stronger immigration and stuff. That's when they make their money. And so immigration is an issue which I could imagine, and the obvious, actually, yeah, the ads are there. Russia sponsored several ads about immigration, about Muslims, about refugees, because this is a topic of debate in the country that's very, very divisive, And I saw a Hollywood Reporter reported that the majority of time Latino immigrants are portrayed in entertainment. They're portrayed as criminals. So there's a lot of underlying propaganda there, and of course, Black Americans have been criminalized by the media and the entertainment industry forever. Basically, that goes back a very long time to even when they were just black and white, no sound movies. They were making trying to make black people out to be criminals or dumb or something like that. I mean that's been going on forever, and so. These guys don't want to take credit for what they've helped create, and instead they just want to take the easy way out. Oh yeah, Russia totally did all that. And that is exactly why this problem is actually just going to get worse. I mean, they think that they're going to start censoring harder on Facebook, they're going to start cracking down on speech on Twitter, they're going to not let RT have a YouTube account or whatever. That is not going to fix the problem. And it's going to get worse because these idiots would rather blame everybody else, including Russia, about shit they helped create. Like all these wars and shit too. The media always going around helping create all these wars, and all of a sudden, when people start dying, it's like, oh, this is so bad. It's so sad what happened. Then stop creating it. Thank you all for tuning in. Be ready. We'll be back Monday.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.